I need to go further back. Like this year is such a, with this 50th anniversary of ECM, and it's also the 50 years since I graduated from high school, right? Like 50 years ago was the first time I went to the Village Vanguard in New York, and it was the first time I heard an ECM record. And so from the beginning, it was for me that time was, there was so much happening, so much within such a short period of time. I went to see Jimi Hendrix play, and then I went to see Charles Lloyd play, and I heard Miles Davis for the first time, or I heard, everything was coming at me, and it was at the moment when I really was, music was taking hold of me, and when I was dreaming that maybe someday, I knew I wanted to play the guitar, but I never really dreamt that a dream like that could come true. But that's what, it was all happening at this one moment. And I remember the impact that those first albums, when I got Chick Corea's solo album or Keith Jarrett's solo album, like, oh, it was something different with that, and had a big impact on me. And so I was a fan of the label long before I ever dreamt that I would be able to record there. And so, years go by, I go to school, I'm studying, I'm hoping. I got out of school, I moved to Belgium, and one of my teachers in school was Michael Gibbs, who had also recorded on ECM and written many songs for Gary Burton's band. And so I was in Belgium, and Mike asked me to do a tour of England. Like, this was my first really going on the road with these fantastic musicians. That there was Kenny Wheeler was in the band, who I ended up playing with later, and Eberhard Weber was in the band. And each night it was a big band, but each night there was a space where Eberhard and I would just play a duet. And I think on the strength of that, there was this connection we had. It was just, would lift off into some beautiful place. And so very soon after this tour, Eberhard had a recording scheduled with Manfred, and he invited me to come and play on that album. So this is late in the year 1978, and it was Eberhard's record, Fluid Russell. I took a train from Belgium to Stuttgart and then to Ludwigsburg, and I was so nervous, But that was my first meeting with Manfred, and somehow I made it through the recording. I just remember it was maybe too big for me at the moment, to even be there. But somehow I made it through without, completely ruining the record. But that's how I met Manfred, and I don't think I made much of an impression at that moment. Then some more time goes by. I moved to New York, and sort of things are not. It's difficult trying to make a living. I didn't know really what was going to happen. Struggling along in New York, and then again, it was because of some connection before. Pat Metheny had recommended me to Paul Motion. So now I'm getting up to 1981. It was January 1981. The phone rings and it's Paul Motion saying, do you want to come and play? Do you want to play at my apartment? And so that began this unbelievable, for me, just, I can't say enough about how important that was in my life in every possible way. My beginning of my friendship with Paul. And so I think that year, now I'm in 1981, and so I'm rehearsing with Paul every week or so. I go to his apartment and we play and working on the music. And then sometime during that year, again, this sort of surprise phone call comes from Arild Andersen, who asked me to come to Molde to play with him. And I think, wow, why, I don't know how the word starts spreading around or something. And I went to Molde and did a concert with Arild. And I remember being at his home and we were rehearsing before the concert and the phone rings and it's Manfred asking, how's it going? And Arild said, yeah, it sounds really good. And then I talked to Manfred on the phone and he mentioned something about maybe we can do a solo recording or something. And I think already he knew that I was playing with Paul Motion. And so that was the beginning of this period of lots of activity. And it seems like, still now it seems kind of like a dream. Then a few months later I recorded with Paul his Psalm album. We did that in Ludwigsburg, and then I flew directly to Oslo. I met Jan Garbarek for the first time and recorded with him there. And then maybe it was a year later or something, I did my first album, the Inline album. It was crazy. Going from, just the year before when I was wondering, how am I gonna get from week to week? I would play a wedding or I was cleaning apartments, trying to make a living. And it wasn't about money, it was more about, I think when I met Paul, it was just such a big boost to my confidence. He was acknowledging me as a person, not just a working guitar player, but he was looking for my personality, my voice. And I felt like that was where I was allowed to be myself. And then having all these recording opportunities coming up, it just sort of opened, just doors opened for me then. So it was an amazing time. So then this Inline album, the first time that I'm doing something under my own name, I was overwhelmed, flying to Oslo by myself, going into the studio alone. And I had prepared a lot of music, and I think, thinking back, I think maybe I wasn't ready for this one. It was, so we began recording, and I got excited. I was thinking, wow, I was trying this and trying that, but somewhere during the process, I was caught off guard. I was surprised. There was a moment where Manfred thought, yeah, this is not really, I think my ideas were going in some different direction or something, and he, thinking back, I wish I had been more strong with what my own intention was or something, because some things didn't follow through to the finish point, So I had things in my mind to do with the, overdubbing and all this. And so some things I didn't quite complete before they were done. So what happened, we did a couple days. Normally you would do 2 days recording and mix, and then that's it. It was somewhere in the second day, I guess he felt that it wasn't a complete picture or something. And so then the idea was that I would come back and finish with, because I was just about to go play gigs with Arild Andersen. So it was like a safety net for me or something. So what's on the album, some of the pieces are from that first session, and then sometime later I came back with Arild and we just played duet, and then that was what completed the story. And it was great to have him, that gave me more confidence again. I think that's always been my difficult for me, just to believe in myself and have the power to follow through with things. I mean, it's gotten better over the years, but recording is it's a strange thing. It's like just taking a snapshot of one moment. So, from moment to moment, the music is always changing and evolving. And so what I'm saying, I'll make a recording and then it never feels like it's quite there. But then I've been really lucky in that way to be able to record a lot, and I look ahead to the next one, and I don't really listen to my own albums. I just do the recording and then I just move on to something else. And so sometimes it's surprising. Like, I actually have not listened to this album since I don't know when, decades. I should go and see what's on here, Like with maybe a song that I learned many, many years ago. Like if I play a standard song, Days of Wine and Roses or something that I've known long ago, and over the years I notice I start seeing other things, 10 years go by and I find things that I never knew were in that song. And more recently, what's happening is like, wow, I find my own songs, some songs that I wrote 20, 30 years ago, and I come back and I see them again, and there's other things going on there that I didn't realize were there the first time. That's something I've also learned to be more comfortable with. It never feels finished. With music, it's like every day I wake up and everything is in front of you, and there's always more than you can do. So you're always sort of reaching, you're trying to get there and you never quite get there. And so this is at the beginning of learning about this feeling. And then to have, this was, again, it was, like I said, maybe I wasn't ready for this, but whatever the faith that Manfred had in me to think that I could do something, I feel so lucky, that I had that chance.